Well, folks, Florida's authoritarian right-wing governor Ron DeSantis has finally gotten his wish, and he now has his election police at his disposal. The Florida legislature passed, and Ron DeSantis, as of recording right now, has not signed it, but he is going to sign the legislation creating this Florida election task force that, of course, reports directly to him, to the governor. So they are completely under his control. It's going to be an office of about 45 people, so it's not a huge task force, because voter fraud isn't really a problem here in the state of Florida. But either way, he gets to cement his grip on this state to rule it with an iron fist. That is the whole point of this. And of course, the point is to pander, because you've got a majority of Republicans, not just here in Florida, but across the country, that somehow believe that the incompetent Joe Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, managed to rig an entire presidential election. Even though they think he's so incredibly incompetent and stupid and senile, he still was competent enough to rig an election to beat Donald Trump. Not sure how that works, right? And of course, audits, recounts, signature verifications, all of that stuff has proven there was not enough fraud to even come close to overturning any election results anywhere. So, there's that. But one of the things that I love about Republicans here in the state of Florida is they are so comically stupid. And here's why I say that. Before I get into this issue with the election police and how that's going to backfire in their faces, let's remember last year when Florida Republicans put forth and passed and signed into law legislation basically suppressing the vote here in Florida. One of the biggest things they did was limit voting by mail. And at the time, the Republicans made it clear, this is probably going to hurt us a lot. In fact, they said, it may hurt us more than it hurts Democrats. Because you see, Republicans in Florida are able to flourish because we have a very large, conservative, but elderly population. And you got a lot of them, a huge percentage of them, let's just say a large enough percentage to swing an election that has to vote by mail. And now a lot of them have been cut off from that, from the Republicans' own legislation. And they said, after they did it, oops, we hope this doesn't affect us in a negative way. Basically, we're just trying to screw Democrats, but we screwed ourselves. And that's exactly what this election police force is going to do as well. Because as we've talked about, I've talked about it here, I've talked about it over on Ring of Fire as well, we have had a couple of instances of voter fraud, people that have been arrested here in the state of Florida, particularly from the Villages, a retirement community in Central Florida that, is hugely political, hugely conservative. And of course, the people that have been busted for voter fraud have been Republicans. Here's why I say that's going to backfire on the Republican Party. If your little task force, that of course is national news, everybody knows you're doing this, everybody's talking about it, so everybody's going to be paying attention to it. And you, of course, are going to want to publicize all of the results that you find, to kind of justify the creation of it. So what are you going to do when you have to go out there and arrest your own voters? How's that going to play out for you? How's that going to work for you when people in your state and outside of your state suddenly look and see holy crap, Republicans are committing a lot of voter fraud? Not only are you going to have to kind of admit that, oops, yeah, we're throwing our voters in jail, stripping them of the right to vote, oops. But it's going to undermine the entire Republican Party message that, there's voter fraud everywhere. People are going to look at it and say, well, yeah, because you guys are committing it, and we've got the proof down here with this little DeSantis election police force. So, silver linings and all that. It's really, I believe, going to backfire on these Republicans when they have to go out there and start arresting their own. And that, of course, is based on everything we've seen about voter fraud here in the state of Florida. But let's be real. There is not enough voter fraud to justify this. There is not enough voter fraud to overturn, overthrow, or in any way sway election results anywhere in this state. DeSantis is doing this to once again pander to the dumbest people in the state of Florida. And it may work at first, but eventually he's going to have to start throwing his own supporters in jail. Oh, and let's also not forget the complete unnecessity, if that's even a word. I'm going to make it a word. Why not, right? Let's talk about how unnecessary this task force is. Not just because voter fraud isn't rampant enough to justify it, but the fact that the state already has the authority to prosecute these people. At any point in time, the governor is able to appoint people to go and investigate voter fraud here in the state of Florida, even before he got his little police force. So you already had the authority to do this. There was no need for it. Not to mention, the DOJ also has a special election task force that is also more than willing to come in and investigate these things. You wanted this power because you are an authoritarian and because you wanted to pander to stupid people. Not because you needed it, but because you were trying to make a political point. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.